بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Welcome to the seventh lecture in the reading module. Today we are going to talk about a number of topics, 5 topics as you can see. First of all, getting the meaning from context. Now, some of you might say, well, we've practiced that already. Yes, but there are some clues that we did not have the time to look at, so we're going to look at them today. Very easy ones. Then recognizing similar but different, similar meanings but different parts of speech, right? Different parts of speech. So some words would have same meaning but different parts of speech. Again, that should be really easy. Number 3, using parts of speech to understand vocabulary. Number 4, suffixes. Number 5, paying attention to phrases while reading. These skills and more will be covered in this course. So let's look at them one by one. First of all, getting the meaning from context. In previous lectures, we have looked at using punctuation, looking at different parts of the paragraph, maybe reading the preceding sentence or the sentence coming after the sentence in which the word was used. Then we used at logic and some other clues. Today we are going to look at 2 more clues. It's basically one, but like 2 examples of that clue. Example number 1, abbreviations. Some abbreviations or shortened forms of words, they can help you actually get the meaning from the same sentence. So examples, we have E.G. That is read as, for example. It means, for example. Let's look at this exercise here. The Global Fund for Women, we are reading here. Let's assume that we are reading this sentence now. The Global Fund for Women helps find solutions to social ills. Let's assume that we don't know what is really meant by social ills. You might know the word social or society, ills or diseases, but social diseases, what is meant by that? So we continue reading. We have, for example, and then we have violence and lack of education. So now we say, okay, now I understand. Some examples of social ills are violence and lack of education. All right? So we have this question, for example, what are some examples of social ills? Okay, so violence and lack of education. As you can see, it's taken from here. The parts following, for example. So that is clue number 1. By looking at the examples, you can tell what is meant by that word. So the examples tell you something about the meaning of this word, or whatever word that precedes or comes before, for example. All right, so let's look at example number 2. Another abbreviation that is widely used, it's really, really popular, is IE, I.E. What is meant by IE? It means that is, or in other words. If you remember in the lectures, I think 4 and 5 maybe, we looked at these examples. We looked at that is or in other words. So whenever you are encountered with this abbreviation here, IE, you should know that this means in other words or that is. Let's read this example. This is a group, okay, so let's assume that now that we have a reading selection, reading passage, you continue reading, and then you have this sentence here. This is a group of entrepreneurs. Now we don't know what that means, i.e., so that is people who own and run their own businesses. All right, so now we understand. So if you know a person who owns and runs his own business, then that person is an entrepreneur. Okay, entrepreneur. This word comes actually from French. So what does entrepreneurs mean? It means people who own and run their own businesses or business. All right, so i.e. and for example. 2 more clues. I hope that you find them useful. Okay, so let's move to the next slide. All right, I'll have to be closer to the keyboard so that I can move quickly between the slides. All right, so we have another example of i.e. Remember, it means that is, or in other words. Instead of collateral, there is peer pressure. Now we want to know what peer pressure means. You might know that peer is like a friend or person at the same stage, same level. So that is group members make sure that each person pays back his or her loan. Now, just to tell you about the context of this sentence, they are in a bank and they want to take money as a loan. So there are conditions, right? One of the conditions is peer pressure. What is peer pressure? That is, first of all, you form groups, and then group members make sure that everyone pays. So that is peer pressure. Pressure from your peers, from your group members, to make sure that a person pays his or her loan. Very simple question. What does peer pressure mean? It means pressure from other members of the same group, or group members make sure that etc. All right, let's move now to the second part of this lecture, which is recognizing similar meanings but different parts of speech. Let's read this example together and see if you will notice it. Try to find words in this example here that are basically the same word. Both words are the same word, but different parts of speech. Okay, so sometimes in the context of a sentence has an explanation of the new word. But in order to think of a synonym, you need to change the part of speech. Let's look at this example. We are at this example right now. For many people, there seems to be no escape from poverty. Let's assume that we don't know the meaning of the word poverty. In other words, they are poor, and they have no hope that this will change. What are the 2 words that are basically come from the same root? It's poverty and poor. So if you want to think about poverty, you want to think about the meaning, think of the word poor. Poor is what? Is it a verb? Is it a noun? Or is it an adjective? Okay, now poverty must be the noun. Must be the noun, okay, of this adjective here. So poor, poverty, same word but different parts of speech. So what does poverty mean? Poverty means the condition of being poor. Of course, you can use your own words to explain to me what poverty means. All right? Exercise number 2. There may be social ills when many people in a society have no money to buy necessities or things that are necessary. The question is, what part of speech is the word social? And what does it mean? What does it mean? We continue reading, and then we find society. Or maybe you already know the word society. So you think, all right, society here is a noun. Social must be the adjective of that noun. All right? So it's an adjective. Okay, social is adjective. Possible meanings, what are some possible meanings? Basically an adjective referring to societies, so pertaining to society. Of course, you can use your own words. There are more than one answer. There are more than 2 or 3 possible answers. Of course, correct ones. All right, using parts of speech to understand vocabulary. If there are no cues in the context of a sentence for the new words, what shall I do? If you are reading at the moment and then you find a word and in the exam you are asked about the meaning of that word, but you don't have any clue, so there's no ATC, there's no IE or EG, so for example, or that is, what should we do? We have to do 2 things. Number 1, figure out the part of speech. Think of the part of speech. And then think what other words might be used logically in that place or in that context. Just thinking about the part of speech might help you actually get the answer or get the meaning of that word. Let's look at this example, and with examples we hope that it's going to be clear. So everyone in the group, I'm reading here, everyone in the group must approve the loan of every other group member. Or Grameen Bank or the bank won't lend the money. So let's think about it. We have a group of people who go, that group goes to the bank, they ask for a loan, and then everyone in that group must approve the loan of every other member of the same group. So I approve, then the bank will lend the money. If I don't approve, the money or the bank won't lend the money, won't give the money. So the word we are asking about is the word approve. What does the word approve mean? Okay, first of all, well, I don't know the meaning of this word. All right, and I don't have any clues. I don't have, for example, or that is. So what shall I do? Think about the part of speech. So must, okay, so that's pretty easy. It has to be a verb following must. So you must sleep, you must go, you must study, you must approve, okay? So we can't really say you must society, or it cannot be followed by noun or an adjective. Okay, so this is followed by a verb. So now this is a verb. Now I have to do something, approve, and then the bank will lend the money. So what are the possible meanings? First of all, we know that this is a verb. Okay, as I said, it's a verb. Possible meanings, well, to agree, to say okay. All right? So here, if you approve something, if you agree to it, the bank will lend the money to the other members of the group. If I don't agree, if I don't approve, if I don't sign, the bank will not give the money. Pretty easy, isn't it? So as you can see, first of all, you identify the part of speech, and then you think of possible meanings. All right, exercise number 2. The primary goal of Grameen Bank and other similar programs is the eradication of poverty. The eradication.
Here's what I found on the web for eradication of poverty.
Okay, so the eradication of poverty. This is the word we are looking for. So the primary goal of Grameen Bank and other similar programs is the eradication of poverty. We are concerned about the word eradication. Eradication of poverty. So first of all, what part of speech is the word eradication? It's a noun. It's a noun. All right? Probably you can tell that this is a noun by the suffix here, the ending, the word ending here. It tells you that this is a noun. All right? Now let's read it logically and think about the possible meanings. What words can I use in place of eradication? And what do you think will be the goal of the bank? Why would the bank be concerned about? Of course, this is related to the reading selection on the book, and we're going to show. I'm going to show you that passage in the next lecture. So hopefully things will be clear. So the bank is there to help people, all right, poor people. And the goal, the primary goal of that bank is the eradication of poverty. So what do you think the bank aims to do with regards to poverty? Is it to make it worse, or to make it better, or to solve this problem? It's obvious, of course, that the bank is concerned about ending poverty. Ending poverty. Or, let's say, solving poverty. So eradicate, end poverty. Or to stop something. Right? To stop poverty. Okay. Exercise, another exercise here we have. A poor woman has an idea to lift herself and her family out of poverty. So now we have a poor woman. She has an idea to lift, this is the key word here, herself and her family out of poverty. Now think of the part of speech of the word lift. What is the part of speech of that word? Okay, let's read it. It's preceded by to lift herself. So what part of speech is lift? It's a verb. In this context here, it's a verb. Where, well, the word left can be a noun, but not in this example here. Why? Because it's preceded by to. We cannot really say to house or to, this is an infinitive construction. So she has an idea to do something, right? So left has to be a verb. All right, now what is the verb that we can replace or use in place of the word left to make the meaning correct and intact. So a poor woman has an idea to do something to herself and her family out of poverty. So what is that? Do you think that that woman has an idea to make her family, poorer? Of course, this is not really logical. So left, and think of the left that we use to go upstairs. All right? So it's raise to a higher level, raise to a higher level, or move to a higher economic level. All right? So to lift herself, to take herself out of poverty, to take herself out of poverty. So lift can be take, we can say take, or move higher, or raise to a higher level. So let's read it again. A poor woman has an idea to move herself and her family out of poverty. To move herself and her family out of poverty. All right. Now number 4, which is the fourth focus of this lecture, is suffixes. Now I've just mentioned, if you remember, somewhere here, I did mention suffixes. Yes, it's there. If you look at the word eradication, we say that you can tell that this is actually a noun. Why? Because of the ending, this shen here at the end. Now these are called suffixes. So what is a suffix? A suffix is a morpheme. What is a morpheme? It's the smallest part, smallest meaningful part of the language. So, for example, if you think of plural S, all right, the plural S, we have the word book, which is the root, it's book, and then you add S to that word. That S has a meaning, right? It means plural. So that S is a morpheme. It's a suffix. All right? So suffix is a morpheme or a word ending. It's not used before. A group of letters you can add to the end of a root word. Let's look at this example here. We have the word helpful. You might already know the word helpful. But probably some students did not think about suffixes and roots. Right? So some words, you can actually break them down into suffixes, roots, prefixes, and so on. So here, what is the root? What is the base form, let's say? And what is the suffix for this example? Root is help. It's written in red. And the suffix is full. So helpful. Helpful. And that has meaning, of course. Here we have some examples of nouns and adjectives or suffixes that we can use to create nouns. And there are, of course, suffixes that we use to create adjectives. Look at word endings, and if they end in this kind of suffixes, then you know that this is a noun. Look at other words that end with these suffixes, or one of them, then you know that it's an adjective. So you can tell the part of speech of some words using suffixes. The suffixes will tell you that this is a noun, this is an adjective, or this is a verb, and so on. But here we only have some examples. So ER right? So think of the word play. Play, if you add ER, it becomes player. So play is a verb. If you add ER, it becomes what? A noun. It becomes a noun. Ist, okay? So IST, right? So think of linguistics, for example. Linguistics. If you study linguistics, then you are a linguist. Linguist, all right? Shen, we already looked at eradication. So we knew that it's a noun. Why? Because it ends in shen. Meant, as in government. Double E, so as in employee. Employ is a verb, all right? Employ is a verb. But if you add this suffix here, employee, it's the person who is employed, an employee. All right? Iti, ans, URE, SE. Okay? So these are some examples. Then we have adjectives. So IVE, able, AL, all right, full, and more. So look at them one by one and try to find out examples. Try to search the internet for words with these endings and try to identify them. It's really easy, but it's really important as well that you do it. So look at words ending with these suffixes that can create nouns or adjectives. Particularly, not only these ones, look at these ones and find some more suffixes as well. Now I'm going to show you some examples. Of course, there are thousands of other examples. Just want you to think of these examples. So we have the word consume, then ER, consumer, train, E, so a person who is being trained, specialist, poverty, requirement, eradication. These are nouns, all right? And these here are adjectives. Why? Because we have suffixes. So adjective suffixes. Anonymous, subsidiary, universal, violent, expensive, and public. All right. Now the last part, or we are moving actually towards the end of this lecture. So paying attention to phrases. What is a phrase? That's question number one. What is a phrase? It's a small group of words that stand together as a single unit without having a subject. So if you have a subject, then it's not a phrase. It stands alone. It stands alone. So it's a phrase. What types of phrases? What type of phrases do we have? We have four types. We're looking at four examples here. A noun phrase, a verb phrase, a prepositional phrase, and an infinitive phrase. We are going to look at them one by one. First of all, noun phrases. What is a noun phrase? It can include adjectives and words before or after the noun. So first of all, it has a noun. There may be adjectives or other words. So adjectives or other words before or after the noun. Let's look at these examples. Greater access. Now access is the noun here. Greater access. Adjective before the noun. Okay, so here and then we have noun. All right, so greater access. Or example number two, access, which is a noun as well, to information. Access to information. All right, so as you can see, we have nouns. There might be words before or after the word. Then we have a phrase. The good player. Player here is a noun, and it preceded by this good, right, which is an adjective. So again, this is a noun phrase. You are my best friend. So best friend, friend here is a noun. So this is a noun. Are, now you have to notice this. Are is what? Is it a noun or is it a verb actually? So that leads us to the next part or next category, which is verb phrases. A verb phrase may include noun, objects, or adverbs, but there is a noun, there is a verb. Look at these examples. To spend money. Spend. Spend is what? A verb. Spend money. Eat food. Eat is what? A verb. Educate people. Educate. Educate comes from education. So educate is a verb. Educate people. So objects, right? So educate people. That's a verb phrase. All right? Are, we've just said that. The students are studying hard. All right? So that's a verb phrase as well. He is reading a novel. That's a verb phrase. And lastly, you should study. So these are examples of verb phrases. If there is a verb, yes, you know that it's a verb phrase, it's not a noun phrase. So examples are eat food, drive a car, and so on. Now some students might confuse verb phrases with infinitive phrases. So like infinitive phrases here. And just to differentiate between the two, infinitive phrases, they start with to. To. All right? So to save money. This is a verb, yes, but there's to before it. So to save money. To eat something. I love to spend time with you. To spend. So the best way to learn is to practice. Now, are these verb phrases? Yes, there is a verb, but it's preceded by to. So that makes it what? Infinitive phrases. Infinitive phrases. So it begins with an infinitive and includes an object after the verb. Let's look at the last type, which is prepositional phrases. Prepositional phrases. Now, how do we identify prepositional phrases? They basically begin with a preposition. They begin with a preposition. So this is how we identify prepositional phrases. Let's look at some examples here. In a similar way, with exciting lives, and so on. To a great extent, to a great extent, for some reason. So read about prepositions, try to find out some more prepositions. Of course, you should have studied them in another course, which is grammar or structure. But some examples, just to show you: before, after, near, under, amid, around, for, them, for, from, in, at. So at a higher level, so that's a preposition. Before we talk about X, so before we talk. After that, we are going to do whatever. So near, under any circumstances, this is not going to happen. So if the sentences, if the phrase actually starts with a preposition, one of these, then you should tell me straight away that this is a prepositional phrase. Okay, now we are done with this one. I hope that you found this lecture useful. If you have any questions about this lecture or any other lecture, you have the live session. You can ask me straight away, or you can send me an email if you wish. But of course, you will get this answer straight away live in the live session. So I will be there for you. Thank you very much for your attention, and see you next week, inshallah.